Hey guys. All right. So, man, just getting this mic up and running was a pain in the ass because this fucking computer decided that it's going to do some updates, all right, in the middle of the whole thing. So, anyway, where was I? I had started a video, I had to cut it short, but my mic is up and running. Look, so I'm not going to ask Coach anything. He said, don't ask me no more, so I'm not going to ask him anything, but it is a video response, so check it out, man. Right? First of all, check out his video. Very good video. Okay, check out his channel. Good channel. Right? That's number one. Number two. All right. Numero dos. I should start translating his videos in Spanish, just to get people that just speak Spanish to listen to shit. Right? That's number three. Number two, that is. But number three, in all honesty, look. Let me just do it this way. All right. This is like common sense, right? Because the Democratic Party has no common sense, right? Coach with the argument that Bernie Sanders would have won the election, that he would have beaten Trump. I agree. I think he would have destroyed Trump, right? And I'm going to explain why. But let me first read this right here, right? And just tell me if it makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. Tell me if it's common sense or if it's not common sense, right? And the quote is, we cannot be a party which, on one hand, says we're in favor of working people, we're in favor of the needs of young people, but we don't quite have the courage to take on Wall Street and the billionaire class. People do not believe that. The Democratic Party has got to decide which side it's on. You know why you never heard Hillary Clinton say something like that? Because it would sound ridiculous, okay? Because she was, everybody knows, she was giving speeches. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand what that means. What does that mean, speeches to Wall Street? It's common sense, but let me put it this way, right? Basically, they pay for a quote unquote speech, right? And sometimes like a dinner, right? And it's always a bunch of rich people, and they pay a lot of money for this quote unquote dinner and speech, okay? But really, what it is, it's a legal bribe, right? So it's not like a check for her campaign; it's a check for her for a speech. Right? And they pay. I mean, she'll make like $600,000 for one fucking speech. Right? What is that speech about? It's not that complicated. Right? Like, wink, wink. Here's some money. Wink, wink. I'm sure you'll take care of me when you're in office. Wink, wink. Right? That's what it is. Right? So anyway, so why would it saying, hey, release the transcripts? Because Hillary wants to make sure in that speech that they stay with her. That when the campaign starts, they'll still continue donating money to her, right? But all that's over already. It was all for nothing. All those donors threw away their money. They were better off, okay, going to the club and making shit rain, right, than they were giving that money to Hillary, right? Bernie Sanders, let me tell you this, would have destroyed Trump. He would have slaughtered him, right? How do I know this? He didn't even beat Hillary Clinton, in the primaries. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? First of all, you need to understand that when Bernie Sanders announced he was running for president, like two people knew, all right? Like, it's not like nobody knows who this guy is. He's a senator from the smallest state in the union, from fucking Vermont. Okay, who the hell lives in Vermont? Like, it's like 5 people live in Vermont, right? If Bernie Sanders knew everybody he knew that he was running for president, right? Like 5 people knew. Like, so I'm obviously being dramatic and sarcastic, but it's the truth, right? When Bernie Sanders, right, announced that he was going to run for president, when the first polling came in, he was polling at 3%. Extremely low, right? And then he began to, create momentum, right? He wasn't being taken serious whatsoever at first, right? That this was Hillary's people and the Democratic establishment were like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I guess you're going to run for president, right? That they weren't taking this guy serious whatsoever, right? He was trying to get some debates going. The DNC, right, scheduled the debates on purpose, okay, to compete against football games and the NBA and and put it like in Saturday afternoon or Saturday night when everybody's going out, right? Not during the weekday, right? So they purposely tried to hide the debates. That's number one. They purposely originally just scheduled, it was about like three, 4 debates at the most, right? They did not want any challenger for Hillary Clinton whatsoever. They did not want any of this, right? And when they finally did the first debate, Bernie Sanders really resonated with people. The dude jumped from 3% to being very competitive within 10 points of Hillary, right? And still, they were writing him off, right? Now, everybody kind of knew this. Everybody knew this. But later on in the leaked emails, it was revealed, right? CNN, who did most of the debates, was working alongside the Clinton campaign, right? Clinton, the head of the DNC, was working in favor of Clinton, right, the whole time. And everybody knew this because this is why conflict of interest exists, right? If you ever gone to a job and they tell you things like, well, you can't work in the same department as your wife or your brother or, or just something like that, right? That's a conflict of interest. There's a reason that's the case, right? This woman, I forgot her name, Schultz or something like that. Debbie, was it Debbie Otto, whatever her name was. That fucking bitch used to work for Hillary, right? She was working for Hillary for quite a while, actually. And now she was the head of the DNC, right? So, she was emailing back and forth with Hillary's people, like, what can we do to sabotage, basically, Bernie Sanders' campaign? What can we do? What can we do? And there's several things that they did. Number one, okay, the media narrative matters a lot. When Bernie Sanders came close to beating Hillary in Iowa, right, they were already, his shot to win was to win Iowa. Fucking one little small ass state, right? He was not able to pull off Iowa. So I think all the momentum's going to go to Hillary, right? Okay, fine. New Hampshire comes along. He destroys her in New Hampshire. Slaughters her. Now, I want you to notice a pattern. Right now, New Hampshire, too close to call. Blue state. Well, probably, I still don't know if they called it yet. But she almost, at the very least, almost lost it to fucking Donald Trump. Notice this pattern, right? And then what happens? He slaughters her in New Hampshire. Slaughter. It was a slaughter. Nah, but it's just all of a sudden the media narrative, this was a small state. It wasn't a big deal. I mean, I guess it matters, but, it's what's really going to matter is South Carolina. And Carolina, like if South Carolina was a blue state or something, right? They go to Nevada, right? Hispanics voted for Hillary, right? The Hispanics voted for Hillary. Even though this man was far more vocal about deportation, he was clearly stating, I'm not going to deport families. Okay, I'm not going to do any of that, right? Hillary Clinton was giving the middle position. Hispanics handed Nevada to Hillary Clinton. Good jobs, Hispanics, right? South Carolina, Bernie Sanders, right? Very vocal about issues of African Americans, right? Was far more vocal about the shootings of African Americans Obama ever has been, right? And it wasn't just some new phenomenon. It wasn't like him pandering, right? He wasn't pandering. He's been very vocal about this in Capitol Hill for a long time. for his entire career. He's been vocal about this, right? What was the media saying about him? The media was saying, yeah, he's a white man that doesn't really understand minorities issues. He's a white man from Vermont where there's nothing but white people. The only reason Bernie Sanders won, okay, was the only reason he won New Hampshire was because it was all a white vote. I mean, Bernie Sanders cannot relate to minorities whatsoever. This was the media narrative that was being put out there. It was being put out there on purpose by the Democratic establishment, all right? Because God forbid that the Democratic establishment actually put a guy forward that actually does care about minorities, that is very vocal about it, and that you could actually track back decades in the past when it was not popular to say these things whatsoever, right? You think you get a backlash about it today, right? This dude is getting backlash about this in the past, right? And regardless whether you agree with Bernie Sanders or you don't agree with Bernie Sanders, if there's one thing you know, it's that he's real. That's what you do know. That you really know where he stands. That there's no position you could find. Look for it. Where Bernie Sanders said one thing in 2010 and he said something else in 2015. Where he said something else in the 1990s and he's saying something else in 2016. Where he said something else in 1980 and now he's saying something else in 2016. He's been consistent for all those decades. You know who you can't say that about? You can't say that about Hillary Clinton. All right? While Hillary Clinton was calling, right, black men super predators, right? Bernie Sanders was fighting for civil rights, right? While Hillary Clinton was talking, like, look, there's a lot of debate, especially on the internet, about gay rights, right? And regardless of, put how you feel about gay rights aside, like put it aside. Hillary Clinton, this is how you know she's an opportunist, right? When it was unpopular to say to defend gays, she was fucking quiet. Her husband had that whole don't ask, don't tell thing going on. Shh, don't say anything. In the 2008 debates, her and Obama were saying that marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay, as soon as it became popular, when they noticed the polling was showing most Americans are okay with gay marriage, all of a sudden they came around and they changed their minds. Okay, how about this? Go back. There's a video, and I believe it was like in 1995, right, where a Republican, okay, is in the Senate floor in the Congress floor. I'm sorry, right, and he says something about homos, that he doesn't want homos in the military. This was in the mid-90s, all right, when it was okay to say homos at freaking Capitol Hill. This dude stood up in the middle of the fucking floor and started to defend gay people, right? So regardless of how you feel about the issue, he's a stand-up guy, okay? He feels principled about this, right? So when he talks about their rights today in 2016, it's not because he changed his mind about it since the fucking 70s, right? He's been saying the same thing about injustices of minorities since the fucking 70s, okay? This is not something he just changed. But no, Hispanics handed Hillary. Nevada, African Americans handed Hillary by almost 90% of the vote to Hillary Clinton. They handed her South Carolina. What that did, that started to create the narrative by the media, right, that it was over. That's it. There's no way. Only 4 fucking states voted, and all of a sudden it was over. That's it. Bernie cannot win. They started to put remember the super delegates. You know what the fuck that shit is? They started counting the super delegates, right? And they were just reporting that shit, even Fox News, right? And this is how you know a candidate's for real. When CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News are saying this guy's not good, right? That probably means he's pretty good, right? That's how you know. Because you know who the establishment fucking was scared of more? It wasn't fucking Donald Trump. They love Donald Trump. Donald Trump's part of the establishment, right? He was just telling people what they want to hear. Okay, just like Hillary, you could go back, you could find Donald Trump changing his mind about everything from one week to the other, not just from last year. This dude, his entire adult life, this dude was not only pro-choice, right? He was pro pre-birth abortion under all circumstances. Period. All right? A black dude was elected president. He became Republican. All of a sudden, he was pro-life. All right? That's the reality. That's the truth. I'm sorry to tell you. All right? So, no matter how you look at it, changing his mind about this position, that position, and somehow people believe at 70 years old, he came around. And all of a sudden, he feels all this way about the establishment. He feels all this way about trade. His whole life, he's benefited from the trade deals. He helped fund guys like Donald Trump, gave money to politicians to pass shit like NAFTA. Okay, guys like Donald Trump benefited from that. Why do you think all his companies are outside of this country? You fucking blithering idiots! All right, like you dumbasses. These factory jobs, one, a lot of them are outdated. That's number one. Number two, they're not coming back. All right? He's not going to bring shit back. He might bring like one factory back, all right, that gives jobs like 2,000 people and use it as propaganda to say, look, I'm bringing jobs back. He might do that, right? But that's about it. You know what? This country, as soon as when I saw the way minorities were voting for Hillary in the primaries, I was disappointed. I couldn't believe they were picking Hillary over this guy. That showed me, one, they were not doing their research, and two, doing whatever the fuck the Democratic establishment was telling them to do. All right? They just listened to the Democratic establishment tell them, well, it's a white dude. He can't relate to you. As if fucking Hillary Clinton could relate to them. All right? Like everything this guy campaigned for, he's fought for that his entire career. Agree or disagree with him, he was principled, right? He was honest. You always hear people bitching and complaining about, oh, politicians, I'm just tired of them. They always lie. They never tell the truth. And as soon as one comes along that tells you the truth, okay, that tells you how he really feels, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, right? As soon as a politician comes along that with no apologies whatsoever, right? You got Obama over there, like they're trying to give a politically correct speech, right? About, oh, we got to look at both sides. The police and the communities, they got to come together. Like fucking Bernie Sanders just went out there and he said, we got to put fucking body cams on these motherfuckers, right? Bernie Sanders just came out and said, we can't allow police officers to get away with murder. They're not above the law. He just fucking said it. Right? He just fucking said it. Like, what's so hard about that? There's nothing hard about that. Right? Well, what else has he been doing? He's been against these fucking trade deals, like for real. Like not this, I'm just gonna say it to appeal to these people. No, like he's been fighting for this shit. Right? This dude became an independent. He was independent for the majority of his fucking tenure because he was not down with the Democratic establishment. Right? This dude, right? When Bill Clinton, a very popular Democratic president, it would have been easy for him to just say yes and bow down and yes, Mr. President, whatever you want, you're popular and you want it, pretty convincingly, and the economy's doing good, so I'm just going to do whatever Bill Clinton says. When they were trying to pass that crime bill, he was fighting against. Okay, when they're trying to pass NAFTA, he fought against. Right? He fought against it. And sometimes they do this trick in Congress that people are just too stupid to understand this. Where in one bill, they'll put two separate issues where as a person, you're conflicted against, okay? Like one issue you're completely against, one you're completely for. And you have to make this tough choice, right? And the reason they do this, so later on when you run for re-election or something like that, right? They can say, oh, he voted for this, he voted for that, right? He's been fighting against that to make sure bills are consistent to one issue. All right? So, like, you need to understand this, man. Like, right now, he's Obama's talking about fucking TPP. He's talking about fighting TPP. He's against TPP. All right? So why would have Sanders won? There's two reasons Bernie Sanders would have won. All right? There's two reasons he would have won in a general election. Two. Let me give you these two reasons. Right? Number one, you're not going to find dirt on Bernie Sanders, right? None. I still remember when Hillary was like, come on, you got to release your taxes, Bernie. And Bernie was like, yeah, I'm going to release them tomorrow. There ain't shit there, though. They're kind of boring. And they were. There's nothing interesting in Bernie Sanders' taxes, right? In fact, there's no dirt on Bernie Sanders. None. You can't find it, right? None. There's nothing. There's no tapes where he said something in 95 that's kind of a little embarrassing today. You know, there's nothing like that, right? Nothing. And number two, well, there's actually three reasons. Let me give you the second reason, right? Why do you guys think Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire, notice this pattern, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, okay? I believe he won Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. I could be wrong about that, okay? But Michigan was the big one. The media was telling everybody, oh, Michigan is long gone. Bernie cannot win Michigan, right? He can't. They had one debate right before the Michigan, right? Bernie Sanders just told everybody, hey, look, I was against NAFTA. Her and her husband pushed for NAFTA, right? That's all you have to do. And he fucking crushed her in Michigan, right? And then CNN came out and they were like, oh, my God, this is the biggest upset in political history. You know, they were spinning it. Well, at least Bernie gets one moral victory before his ultimate loss. You know, they were still spinning this shit. And they were putting the super delegate count right all over TV to tell people, look, he's so behind, he can never catch up, right? And anyone that knows anything about politics knows that the super delegates are going to align with the total delegate count, right? So the super delegates were actually with Hillary in 2008 as well, right? But they were plastering it all over TV because they know what happened in 2008. They wanted Hillary, not Obama, right? So that he would not have lost Michigan. He would not have lost Wisconsin, right? He wouldn't. Because those people know this guy was not for NAFTA, which screwed him over and took away all their jobs, right? And if Donald Trump tried any ads about crooked politicians, all Bernie would have to do is do a counter ad of him in the House floor arguing against NAFTA. That's all you would have to do. Okay, and do ads about how Donald Trump has all these jobs overseas. Why doesn't he bring jobs to Michigan if he cares so much about it? Hillary couldn't do those ads because Hillary was part of it. She pushed for NAFTA, right? That's why she couldn't do those ads. But you know what Hillary did? She was doing ads about Donald Trump's potty mouth. Like Donald Trump talks like an adult sometimes. He cusses sometimes. He talks in a not so pleasant way. Like what the fuck? They didn't give a fuck about that. They didn't give a shit about that. Why would they? Right? Those people probably middle class people cuss all the time. Like what are you talking about? Right? Right? So that's stupid. I've cussed. How many times have I fucking cussed in this video? It's just the way people talk. All right? People aren't shocked. You know? I've seen people say, yeah, fuck yeah, about anything. The team scores a touchdown. Fuck yeah. Fuck those motherfuckers. Like, I hear that all the time, right? People don't care. This whole potty mouth thing, they don't care, right? Let me give you the third reason Bernie Sanders would have won, right? Number 3. Bernie Sanders is the guy Barack Obama pretended to be in 2008, right? See, Barack Obama pretended to be Bernie Sanders in 2008. And he got a record-breaking amount of votes. Almost 70 million people showed up to vote for him, right? Almost 70 million. That's 11 million more than Donald Trump got this year, right? Almost 10.5 million more than Hillary got, right? The only difference is Bernie was the real deal, right? Obama just pretended to be Bernie Sanders, right? And like not literally Bernie Sanders. I'm talking about the issue, the guy he pretended to be. And look, me too. I have things that I felt that I disagreed with Bernie about. There are. That it's impossible for one person to agree with another person about everything. Okay, it just is. All right. But I know he was honest. And let me tell you something. The United States of America does not deserve Bernie Sanders, all right? This country is far too lazy to do if you're going to be far too fucking lazy to do your own research. If America is going to be too fucking lazy to know whether or not somebody's fucking lying to them, right? If America wants to be lied to and just be told what they want to hear all the time, right? Then they don't fucking deserve Bernie Sanders, right? This country does not deserve someone like that as president of the United States, right? This country is not ready for someone like that because they don't deserve it. America deserved Hillary and fucking Donald Trump. That's what you fucking deserved, because that's who you fucking got. That's who you got through the primaries, right? That's who you fucking got through the primaries, right? And before somebody says, "Oh, but Hillary fucking destroyed Bernie Sanders," you guys obviously, the media bias, the DNC, okay, working with the fucking cable news networks, right, tilting everything to her favor, hiding the debates, limiting, like Obama and Hillary had far more debates. Just look it up back in 2008, right? But that aside, why do you think Hillary wants states where only registered Democrats were allowed to vote? Why do you think she wants those states where they were not letting independents vote? Independent people were not allowed to vote in many of these states, and those are the states he lost. Way too many people don't want to align themselves with a fucking party, right? So it is what it is. This country didn't deserve Bernie Sanders. Bernie would have destroyed Trump, right? He would have destroyed him. Trump didn't like blow her out in these states. They were pretty close. And given how strongly white male voters were voting for Bernie Sanders in favor of Hillary in those specific states, Bernie would have won, right? In fact, there was some reporters on the ground that even said the moment Hillary, like everyone in those states knew Hillary Clinton won the Democratic nomination or whatever, they immediately started to see a rise in Donald Trump signs in lawns and all types of shit, right? In those specific, in counties that voted for Bernie strongly, right? There's a correlation here. In counties that voted very heavily for Bernie, the moment they found out Hillary was a nominee, in those same counties where they never vote Republican, they started to put Trump signs all over their fucking lawns, right? He would have won Wisconsin. He would have won Michigan. He would have won Florida. Maybe not North Carolina, right? But he would have won New Hampshire. He would have won these states. And he would have been president of the United States of America, right? And he would have probably broken Barack Obama's record from 2008. He would have probably done that, right? Because young people would have gone out to vote for him. There were many young people that had just turned 18, 19, 20 that had, there was going to be their first cycle voting, that didn't know that it was like stupid. They wanted to vote in New York and they were told, no, you had to register 5 months ago. Like, who makes these rules? Like, that's stupid. Do you or do you not want to know who they're mostly going to vote for? Bernie Sanders among young voters, right? You could have gotten Hillary, Trump, and all those 16 Republicans, all of them. Add them all up, Bernie got more millennial votes than all of them, right? I want that to sink in. The young vote didn't turn out for her. Why should they? Right? For what? Stop giving people hard times they didn't fucking vote. Right? Just stop it. Look, you need to understand here. Number one, it's hard enough, right? It's the Democratic Party wants voters to go out of their way, okay, to deal with Republican voter suppression, right? Like the Democratic Party just bends over and allows the Republicans to put polling places in very inconvenient places for African Americans and Hispanics, right? On fucking voting day, right? On election day, that is. You know, people have jobs. It's Tuesday is the day most people work. Let's say they get out of work around 5. They've already had an 8-hour shift, right? So now you wanted to drive across town, right? In a part of town they're not very familiar with or they don't visit much, right? You want them to get in a long fucking line, right? And wait in this long fucking line, which are being made long on purpose, right? And cast their vote while the idiot Democrats just bend over and let them do it. You know, even in cities where there's fucking Democratic mayors. All right? A lot of people just say, you know, fuck this shit. I've been working for 8 hours. And even if I would prefer Hillary to win, it's not like I'm very excited about Hillary either, right? If it was Bernie Sanders, they would have done it for Bernie, right? Something tells me for Bernie Sanders, right, they would have done it, right? Because he gives people some type of purpose here, right? Hillary was just another corporate puppet. That's all she was, right? That's all she was. So at the end of the day, okay, voter turnout was low, right? I know people will look at the numbers and say, no, but look, I mean, okay, sure, it was less in 2012 and 2008, but I mean, it's still the third most ever, or actually fourth most ever. I think 2004 had more voter turnout. But what you guys don't understand is every 4 years, like right now, anyone who's 14 years old right now is going to be eligible to vote, more than likely, right, in 2016. All 14-year-olds and up will be eligible to vote in 2020, I'm sorry, right? Think about that. It's more people become eligible to vote than they die, right? Like at a faster rate. So you need to think about that for a moment. There are far more eligible voters in 2016 than ever. Yet the voting turnout went down, okay? There was no, in the Midwest, there was a switch from people that were going to vote to Donald Trump. But aside from that, there was no Donald Trump big movement or inspirational movement. If that was true, he would not have gotten less votes in Romney. He would not have gotten less votes in McCain. He may have done better than McCain, maybe. But, I mean, George Bush still has a record, and it was in 2004. I mean, get the fuck out of here, right? So you need to understand this. Like that, he wouldn't have gotten 11 million less than fucking Obama. All right? That's just the truth. A lot of people stayed home because they didn't give a fuck about any of these two candidates, right? That's just a reality, right? That's just a reality. This country did not deserve Bernie Sanders, right? It didn't. You reap what you sow, right? I'm hearing a lot of people like, oh man, what happened? You know, what happened to all these arrogant Hillary supporters saying, no, you Bernie Sanders supporters got to come on board, all right? When she's the opposite of everything he was campaigning against, right? And many of them did come on board just because Trump was that bad, right? But some of them voted for Jill Stein. Some of them, believe it or not, voted for Gary Johnson. Some of them, for whatever the circumstance was, just were not inspired to vote, right? And I don't blame them. If you want to blame them, that's your prerogative, all right? But voting is a right, but it's your choice too, right? And in a way, not voting is somewhat of a vote, okay? It should tell everybody something when people are not going to vote. What it means is that there is a sleeping giant. That's what it means, right? And that sleeping giant, it can rise up in many different ways, right? In my opinion, they were ready for a Bernie Sanders movement, but they were, it was a political version of cock blocking when there was tens of thousands of New York eligible voters, right, standing outside polling places protesting because they were told they couldn't vote for Bernie Sanders because they didn't apply as a Democrat 5 fucking months ago, right? So for the Democrats crying about voter suppression and, oh, the Republicans, they always do voter suppression. Well, you know how they say Democrats are like Republican light. You know, they're kind of like the wannabe Republicans. You know, they do everything the Republican way, but just, you know, in a softer tone. Well, you know, they learned a lot from their daddies, didn't they? Like they learned a lot from their brothers from another mother over there with the Republicans, right? Because they sure didn't have a problem doing it to Bernie and Bernie supporters, right? And that's it. Anyway,